Welcome to another edition of Recruit Nation Sports. Tonight's guest is Christopher Feliciano, the head coach of University of New Hampshire women's volleyball. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing well. Thank you for having me, fellas.
Yes. We are glad to have you in our studio today. We're glad to have you as a guest, and we're excited to talk about your program and all things UNH volleyball related.
Thank you.
All right, Creek. So you can
Yep.
start with the line of questioning.
Yeah. So first off, I want to say, to the host, happy birthday. It's his birthday, so he may not be hanging out with us too long. But thank you for checking in with us.
Thank you. I got the girls upstairs waiting for me. So.
Yeah. And then I'll go right into it. Coach, thank you for being here with us. You're our first coach outside of football, so we're excited about that. Got a lot of volleyball players that are interested. I feel like the sport has definitely been growing. I'm seeing a lot more young athletes getting involved in club ball.
Sure.
And then stuff going on in school. So, definitely wanted to, get your opinion on that because I know you've got some experience. First of all, yeah. So you moved around, but you're up there in New Hampshire. But I still see you representing the NY area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of
I
course.
know you're a big Nicky fan. I know you're a big Nick fan too.
Only when they're
loyal.
good. It's been a while.
Yeah, you're loyal. So, so I know that you've made the 30 under 30 list as a coach. I know you are in is the Hall of Fame for NJCU, is it?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. University.
Yes.
You're in the Hall of Fame there. You've been known as one of the rising coaches. So can you tell us a little more about your experience and your path? Because I remember you as a basketball player, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you're a volleyball all-star. So can you tell us a little bit about your path?
Started with my mom. My mom was a former professional player out of Puerto Rico. As you mentioned before, I played basketball, and my mom was waiting for me not to love the sport anymore. And there was a moment where kind of, I guess, I wasn't a fit for, what they were trying to do at the high school level. So I needed to do something else. And my mom brought me to one volleyball practice at the Newark YMCA with Eddie Grant. And the rest was history. I was able to walk away from playing basketball entirely and focus on playing volleyball. Pretty much was a fish to water in certain moments, but there were other moments where I was a little awkward when it came to doing certain skill sets, but there were other things that was really natural to me. I've always been a big jumper. So that really just, allowed me to be a point scorer in the game. And those are really important, if you're trying to win matches. And I started going to the YMCA 3-4 times a week, catching the bus right on, Morris Avenue, the 62 straight through Elizabeth, all the way down to downtown Newark, Martin Luther King Park, and, walk over to the Newark YMCA and play volleyball for 3 hours. And Eddie would take me home. And, they did this pretty much when I was, from 15 all the way to 18 years old until I started playing at NJCU. And, I was very lucky. It just felt like everything that I was involved in progressed into something bigger. And I'm grateful for those moments. I'm grateful for the path that God put me on, and, grateful for my mom doing her job as a mom, taking care of her son and giving me something to really be engaged with to keep me out of trouble. Now, I bought a house with our first contract. I've got 2 babies underneath this house. My wife takes care of our kids, and, I get to go and coach. I get to coach for a living. And there's not many people that can say that. So I really am a blessed person.
Yeah. So you started off as a player, then you started coaching at New Jersey City University.
So I was a player, I played club, played high school ball. Then I went to NJCU and I actually started coaching at Union High School. I was the JV coach at Union High School for 2 years. And then when I graduated from NJCU, I was immediately asked to be the recruiting coordinator for both the men and women's program. I did that for about a month. And then my former athletic director, Larry Shiner, saw, the job that I was doing and how ambitious I was. And he asked me to take over both the men and women's program immediately. It's like I graduated in May and I was the head coach of both programs in June, and these are part-time jobs. I didn't even have a full-time job yet, but I kind of recognized that that's where I kind of belonged because, I was going to be, I ended up being a school teacher in Newark for 7 years, Newark and Patterson, but I always, was coaching, on the side part-time with, college D3 and then D2 and then some club volleyball, for, younger athletes, 14s and 15s, and just every step I took has kind of led to here. And it's been kind of seamless. It's been a lot of hard work. But I would be lying if I said I didn't have a lot of opportunities put in front of me. So, hard work does do good things for people.
Well, hard work creates opportunities.
Absolutely.
So that's good. So, so you ended up there and then, you're a fixer in a sense. Every place you've gone, it looks like you've improved the program.
Sure.
After NJCU, you ended up at Rider, and aren't you something like the winningest coach there?
I'm the winningest coach at both programs, both at NJCU and at Rider University. In both situations, and even the situation that I'm in now, I was hired to change the direction of where the program was headed.
Right.
And it's not easy rebuilding programs from scratch. But the one thing that is very rewarding is you get to build it in your ideals, hard work, commitment, tradition. And we're excited, I'm excited to see, what my fingerprints look like here at the University of New Hampshire.
I'm excited too. So you're an accomplished coach, right? So that's a good thing. What can you tell me about the University of New Hampshire? Like, for any student, not just volleyball players, for anybody.
Sure. If you're looking for, in my opinion, a complete collegiate experience between social life and academic life, New Hampshire is the place to be. I know that everyone talks about it being cold. I know everyone talks about the snow, and I know everyone talks about some of these things, but it snows everywhere. It just snows a little harder here in certain times of the year. We are a college town. The town itself has embraced the university. And it's just a great place to be. There's always something to do. There's always an event to go to. And the academics here are very rigorous. We are one of very few research institutions in the country. You have everything from business, you have the business Paul College, top 25, business top in the top 25% of business programs in the country. To our engineering department, you have everything from A to Z here at the University of New Hampshire. And honestly, I never knew until we came here, my wife and I, for the interview. And I'll never forget driving on campus. It was 7:00 at night. We flew in. We had, dinner at, Fenway Park. I wore all my Yankee gear, to Fenway Park. And when we got on campus, I've been to a ton of college campuses, from coaching matches, coaching club, and I literally looked at my wife and I said, hey, we could win here, and we could win here, not just win one, we can win multiple championships here, because just the university itself sells itself. We've had multiple kids come for visits during the COVID pandemic on their own. And they're ready to come here in 21 and in 22. There's a lot of staying power with the University of New Hampshire, so it's a great place to be. And then, on top of that, if you're an athlete, we have outstanding coaches, an outstanding athletic department. We have an outstanding leader by the name of Marty Scarano. He's our athletic director. He genuinely cares about not only the programs and the success of the programs, but the athletes and the coaches in them. It's the first place that I've worked at that has been consistent. You know what I mean? I've been in other places where you feel like the athletic director cares, and he does, but there's other things that are going on. Marty's kind of like, I don't want to say grandpa, because he's not grandpa, but he's that guy in your family that just cares wholesomely about what's happening to you. So
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's a great place to be and a great place to work.
So is it one of those places where you feel that if someone, because University of New Hampshire may not be on people's radar, but is it one of those places where, like what do they say, one of those diamonds in the rough, someone comes on campus for the first time and they're like, wow, I like it here. This could be home. Is it one of those places? So
coming from New Jersey, I would say it is, but working in the area, it's not, if that makes sense. When the job opened up, and my wife is actually the one that told me about the job opening up. I was like, where's New Hampshire? You know what I mean? Like, we're Jersey people, and and my family's from Puerto Rico, so I know New Jersey. I know hot areas where we go to visit, but New Hampshire, I was like, isn't that by like Vermont? Who wants to go there?
Yeah.
And then, but when we got here, it was just like, oh man, this is amazing, So, like I said, like for anyone that's from this area, from New Jersey area, I could see why it would be considered a diamond in the rough type of situation, because it's not one of those Penn State name brands. But anyone that is in the New England area, Connecticut, or around those places, UNH in terms of higher education is at the forefront.
That's great. That's great. So that's about the school. Now, tell me about the volleyball program. To any aspiring, volleyball athletes, what can you say about your program and what you're trying to build there and the culture you're building there?
Sure. So our program historically has been one of the powerhouses in the America East. And I took over for a Hall of Fame coach that should be in not only the UNH Hall of Fame, but should also be in the ABCA Hall of Fame, Jill Hampshire, Jill. And it has been just great. But it's difficult at the same time because they've experienced winning in such a specific way. And I have a very different way of doing things. So, it's kind of, there's been some challenges, getting people to think a little differently. Last year, I had 5 seniors who were outstanding, but they were used to doing certain things 3 years in a row, and they had won a conference championship with Jill. So here comes this new coach, completely different style, up tempo, high demands of what we're looking for. And to their credit, they did an immaculate job of adjusting. And now we have, out of 16 players, we've got 10 new faces in the gym. So it's kind of easier to start anew because they don't know any different. And we have a certain way we want to operate. And all we want to do is just, continue to build a big, good product that's representing of the tradition and the history of the program and is representative of a really good institution in UNH.
That's great. That's great. So what's a Coach Feliciano prototype player? What do you look for in a player?
I want grit. First and foremost, I want grit. I want someone to be gritty. There's this thing we talk about, do you love winning or hate losing? And I 9 out of 10 times want the kid that hates losing. We obviously want to create a positive environment, but at the same time, we want people that don't want to lose. We want people that are going to work, that they're motivated. They're motivated to be great. So that's one of the things we look for. Obviously, we look for skill set. You have to be able to play the level. You have to be physical, in a certain regard, dependent of your position. So like example, our outside hitters, we want our outside hitters, touching in the 9, 10 foot range, in our pin, in our other pin in the same way. We want our middle blockers blocking at 9-8, 9-9 because, they have to move laterally across the net. And sometimes, they go from the highest point when they're jumping straight up and they have to reach over, and it, changes, how high they're jumping. But if they're at 9-9, 9-10, when they reach over, they're at 9-6, 9-7, and that's very good. And lastly, we're looking for kids that are accountable. I feel that this world sometimes is split in half where, a lot of people think things should be given to them. And there's the other half that are humble, that are willing to, get their hands dirty, and I use the analogy of winning a free pair of sneakers. There's 2 types of responses. Thank you. And hey, can I get this in a different color? You know what I mean? So like, we want the kids that are saying thank you. And I'm happy to say that in our gym, we have all of our kids are that way. So it's very rewarding to come in and to coach because they're grateful for everything that we do. They're grateful for the fact that we're playing right now in a pandemic and the work that our administration has put together.
So now what challenges, being that we are in a pandemic, have you faced as far as practicing and keeping the athletes, I would say, in a good headspace,
Sure,
between school and, the court,
Well, the big challenge right away that stands out is we've had so many new faces. In a regular year, you have all of August to prepare for a season. While we had the fall, we didn't have any competition. And we did a really nice job of, making connections, starting to develop dynamic relationships. But you don't have some of the luxuries you have of, a preseason, so in preseason where you get to know your teammates, in the dorm rooms, you get to hang out with them outside of the gym. When you're in the gym, obviously you're working together, but you're not really having a conversation, getting to know each other.
Building that bond.
And then with the whole social distance component, wearing masks, we follow the rules. We try to do as best as we can with what we have, but it's really difficult to really develop those dynamic relationships. I was real proud of our group because when they went home, we made sure that was our prerogative. We wanted to really communicate over the break with each other, and they made like little groups. One person was responsible for calling, player A, and player A responsible for calling player D, and it formed like these little triangles, and it trickled over to each other. So when we got back, we were a lot closer. And then, the other challenge is, having so many young kids in our gym right now. In a preseason, we would, operate at a certain pace. We would utilize certain skill sets. We would do different things. And here we are, we started practicing, and here we are in conference schedule. So we're balancing grooming our younger team versus trying to contend for a championship, and right now, if you ask me if we have the talent to contend, I'll say absolutely. Do we have the experience? I would say absolutely not. So we're here forced with this decision that we have to make. And our answer to that is we just want to put our foot forward as best as possible on a daily basis and see where it lies. And we're using this small schedule as a building block for, hopefully a full slate in fall of 2021.
So you figure hard work, grit, and as they get more experience, you're saying better watch out for us in a few years then, huh?
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. So educate me. In some sports, they talk about the measurables, right? Is in volleyball, are measurables a thing, or is it as far as like height and I don't know about weight, but like height, or is it if you can jump 9'9", or sorry, the word net, if you can net 9'9", 9'8", you're good.
So our measurables are, we do a lot of things through data. We keep a lot of statistics in our practices. We even keep statistics when we go recruiting. Sometimes the biggest kid isn't the best kid, that's the reality of it. If you asked me which one is better, the 6'2" kid that's touching 10 feet or the 5'9" kid that's touching 10 feet, each one has different benefits and each one's had different weaknesses. The 5'9" is touching 10 feet, takes longer to get into the air. The longer it takes to get into the air, the faster it is to close the block and adjust the defense. Whereas the 6'2" kid that's touching 10 feet, you set her what we call a tempo set, which is, a faster, like it's the equivalent of throwing a deep ball versus a slant pass in football. So we're throwing a slant pass to this young lady, and point of contact is higher and point of contact is faster. So I'll go with that better than the kid that takes forever to get into the air. Another measurable is, serve, receive, and defense. You want kids that can pass the ball. You want kids that keep the ball off the floor. And we have this thing we talk about in our gym that's a measurable, like we want to touch balls with value. So we don't want to just keep a ball at the floor. We want to keep a ball that we can do something with second and third contact. So those are just some of the little things that we look at.
Okay, that's great. So can you explain to me the difference between, I would say, a D3 or D2 and a D1 player or program?
Sure.
Like, what's the difference? I mean, if there is one,
So I could talk to the effect of the programs, not the players. So the D3 is not allowed to offer any type of athletic aid. It's all merit-based, academic scholarship and need through financial aid through the FAFSA in New Jersey. Well, the FAFSA anywhere. Sorry, I don't know why I said that was just New Jersey. D2, there are certain limits for every conference on how many scholarships they're allowed to, hand out to their athletes. And they receive both academic and athletic aid. At the D1 level, we have fully funded programs where you're what's called a counter sports. We're a counter sport. We have 12 full scholarships that are part of our program. We're not allowed to give any more than 12 scholarships unless with COVID, unless it's a fifth-year senior, then we're allowed to give a 13th scholarship. In terms of the differences in levels, I would like to feel like, D1 is obviously, the top. And the only thing that really the only thing that makes each level different is just different levels of physicality and size and speed. There are some D3 programs. When I was at NJCU, we had a couple kids that didn't belong playing at the Division III level. It's no secret. Lascelles Cintron, Jackie LeBlanc, Sarah Torres, all Union County kids, believe it or not, helped us, get to that level that we were at, and all three of those kids could have went and played at a higher level, but they wanted to stay close to home and they liked NJCU. NJCU, I would consider one of the hidden gems in New Jersey in terms of, academics and, social aspect of life. So, those are just like little things, and I wouldn't say anyone's better, you know what I mean? Because everyone goes to a different school and a different level for particular reasons that they're their
Oh,
own.
yeah.
And you know, it's what fits you and what's going to fit your experience. And that's, you
Yep.
know, the decision up to the athlete.
I always talk about that. I always say it's about finding your fit and going where you'll be comfortable playing. You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
you know, in many sports, there are athletes that are at schools and they're playing above their ability. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or they're not playing. They're not getting enough play time when they could have went somewhere else and maybe save some money. So
Sure.
that's good. So I mean, there's talent on all those levels, I'm sure. What could you tell me that an athlete should be doing to prepare to play, say for you at UNH? Like a high school athlete right now that says, I want to come to UNH, what should they be doing to prepare? Or what advice could you give them?
Well, I hope my 21 commits are watching. Once you're committed, and I'm just going to speak, objectively. Once you're committed, you should not stop working. The reality of it is take a moment to celebrate, because it is a celebration when you sign an NLI. You've worked tremendously hard. And let's be honest, the parents have worked even harder. They work during the week, and on the weekend, they got to wake up at 5 o'clock to bring you to a practice or bring you to a tournament. They got to donate their entire weekend to watch you play. So it is a tremendous accomplishment for mom and dad. Celebrate for a little bit, but then get to work because you've just wiped the slate clean. You have a new and fresh beginning, and you want to make a mark. And you want to start your legacy, because the reality of it is you go to a program, you're not going to a program to not play. You're going to a program because you want to be a difference maker. So put the work in that matches your desire, I guess, is my best advice.
That's good. So you talked about scholarships. So for we talk about facilities, right? A lot of times football, basketball, they get treated, great on campus. So they have these, amazing facilities. What's it like for volleyball players, and what's the treatment like at University of New Hampshire for the female volleyball players?
Fair and equal. We share the gym with 2 other indoor sports, men's basketball and women's basketball. And we work with each other to make sure that we have the, enough opportunities to, to practice with our team. There are certain moments, like in any other, relationship, that we don't agree. But we always have the best interest, not only out for our athletes, but for each other. I came from Rider University, where they had a practice facility. So that was kind of different. There was never any conflict, because if someone wanted the main gym, the other gym was always available. So it's always it depends on, what your institution has, and, what your institution is built for. We're just lucky that volleyball historically has been, I think it's 7 championships we've won in the past 15 to 18 years. So, when we want something, we need something. And it's never coming of a place of being a glutton. It's always things that we want that are going to help our athletes. So they work with us very well.
Yeah, that's good. And then having been an athlete yourself, if you're walking on campus and you're checking out the facilities, are you like, wow, it's nice here?
Yeah.
So I'm talking to, say your weight room, your dining facilities, the housing facilities. They're pretty comparable to some other D1 level schools.
Absolutely. We have everything. We have football, we have ice hockey, we have. You go down Main Street, you're literally running into three different facilities right off of the main road. Like I said before, when my wife and we came down for the interview, those are the things we noticed right away, and those are the things that really caught our attention was the facilities. Because again, at Rider, love the place. I have my master's degree from Rider, and I'm forever grateful for them giving me my first head coaching opportunity. But the facilities were better here at UNH. And it's an easier sell when you're recruiting. You don't have to say, hey, you don't have to kind of explain this and this, and we're doing this and this. No, this is our facility. And you walk away from the discussion, and it's an easier fix than others.
Okay. So if I'm a recruit right now, give me your, like we like to call our $1 million message. Sell me on UNH volleyball. What would you say to me to get me to come there?
I would say if you want a balanced experience and you want to be part of a community that knows you instead of your jersey number, that UNH is a place to be.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, and that's important, not to everybody, but it is important, because community is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, to be at a place you feel like you belong, means a lot. So, well, Coach, anything else you want to share about yourself or the program or whatever?
For anyone that's watching, regardless of what sport you play, and by the way, thank you for letting me be the first one non-football related. Even though I do know my football, as you can see through a little reference in there. It's important that, if you're going to play collegiate sports, to follow that dream, to prepare yourself, understand that you're getting ready to compete in a world that's not for everybody. There are things that you're going to love. There are things that you're going to hate. I tell my athletes all the time, there's days and they'll agree. There are days that they absolutely love me, and there are days that they're like, here he is, and that's fair. And that's fine.
Perfect.
My message is communicate. Don't assume. Talk to your coaches. If you don't like things that are going on, you don't like your amount of playing time, communicate. Don't run to mom and dad. Mom and dad can't help you. And if moms and dads are listening to this, don't try to help your kid. Tell your kid to communicate with the coach. Because the reality of it is, and I think something that we are all losing sight of is we're going to send kids to college to find themselves, to find their voice. Not everyone gets to play professional volleyball, and heck, not everyone gets to play, even if you're on a team. That's just the way it works. You're not paying for training. You're paying for an education. So as long as the education component is in place, the sport aspect is an extracurricular activity. Advocate, communicate, and be real, be honest. Don't smile in the coach's face and then turn your back and have a different message for your teammates, because that just creates problems. So be a good teammate, be a good human being, and grow. And understand, and this is the last thing I'll say, understand that your coach can not only help you grow in your sport, but they can teach you how to win for life in a lot of instances. So I think that's really important.
It's important. It is important. It's important. Well, Coach Feliciano, I want to thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Being our first, non-football coach. We'll have many more. I hope that we definitely can talk to you again. To give some more exposure to University of New Hampshire, and as well as some of your knowledge about the whole recruiting process. And for volleyball athletes are interested. I know you have a lot of knowledge and experience. So again, we appreciate you. To everyone watching, thank you for watching. Let us know if you have any questions. Coach Feliciano, if anyone wants to reach out to you, how can they contact you?
Just find my email on our athletic website. So if you go to our page, it'll list coaches, and then I'll have my contact information on the website. Okay.
Sounds good. Well, as always, let us know if you need us. Dream Sky Network, Troop Nation, outwork everyone. Thank you. Good night.
Have a good one. Thank you.